Very much. Liliosa, we'll see you later in the show. After the break, we'll find out about the legal and ethical implications of egg donation. But right now, it's time for your Pampers Monday Minute.
The toddler years are so wonderful. You can just see how they're learning and developing. Sleep is still very important, but it can be quite a challenge.
How much sleep does a toddler need during the day?
Most toddlers of his age are still getting about 12 hours every 24, and most of that will be nighttime, 2 to 3 hours possibly in the day.
My son, one delay is 2 years. I always struggle to get him to sleep after he had a long nap during the day. What can I do?
You know, mostly one says don't wake little ones when they're sleeping, but that's the exception. You just lop off the last 15, 20 minutes maybe. When he does wake then make sure you have some physical play and then go into your wind down routine. The most important thing is not to allow bedtimes to become a battleground.
More tips for great sleep on your next Pampers Monday Minute.
You can call us on 011-447-1742 or send us an SMS on 34970 and remember to type in ETV before your message. Welcome back. On Great Expectations today, we're chatting about giving women the gift of pregnancy through egg donation. But there are real concerns for those involved. Some of the mums worry about their legal right to the egg and ultimately their baby. For others, it's an issue of ethics. Jenny Curry, who owns an egg donor agency, and fertility specialist Dr. Marina Stroh are in studio with us. Now we're also joined by Suzette Heath, a clinical psychologist specializing in egg donor assessments. Jenny, you explained to us earlier that the process is anonymous. Neither the donor nor the recipient know who the other person is. So what information does the recipient actually get?
The recipient gets extensive information about the donor. This extends to physical information, social information about the donor, her behavior, her personality type, her medical background pertaining to parents, grandparents, sometimes even great-grandparents. There is
family history,
medical, philosophical background, professional background, just everything that who she really believes in. And to the extent that the application or her profile is still incomplete for a recipient, they may even ask further questions like, what marks did she get at school?
Wow.
Or how, why, what kind of cancer did her dad have, and how was that treated? So it's extensive information.
Now that you're talking about, you know, pre-existing diseases in the family, illnesses in the family, heart disease, cancer, do those kinds of issues, would they rule somebody out from being able to be an egg donor?
We don't rule them out just on that application form,
okay.
And to the extent that there are uncertainties, we will check with the fertility specialists. But that information is available. It's so that they can manage the life of the child and just be informed and be aware.
What sort of details are there in the agreement? And for the recipient, what are the rules for them?
Firstly, there's no agreement. Because it's anonymous and confidential, the birth mother is the legal mother, so there's no further agreement required. This woman gives birth, and there's nothing, she need not disclose to anybody else that, that the child is conceived through egg donation, so there's no agreement. The donor walks away and there's no further commitment or responsibility on her side. The only time when the birth mother is not the legal mother is in the case of a surrogacy program, which is a totally different discussion.
Okay. We've been in this country engaging in this process now since 1986. So that means that the first wave of kids are now in their mid-20s. They're adults. They could be getting married. They're out there in the world. If they wanted to find out who their parents or who where their eggs came from, the eggs that made them, are they allowed to?
We don't have such an option. There's no donor registry, so people can't source out that information. But I must say, in most cases, actually, the recipients do not want to divulge that information. The only times that we find that people really want to divulge that is in foreigners who are coming here, and I think they've got a different cultural set and they've got a different different outlook. So they really want to know, and they're the ones who want to know where did the great-grandparents grow up and what are their beliefs and which countries did they originate from. But generally, South Africans want to keep it private.
Okay, okay. Suzette, as a psychologist, what do you find are the concerns that both parties have most of the time?
The egg donors often don't have concerns because they're so happy that they can help somebody. But they do worry sometimes about the procedure and sometimes, you know, what will happen to the egg. But they normally don't think in terms of this is a baby. They think in terms of this is a gift that I give somebody else.
Psychologically, I mean, it's quite an intense procedure, and I think that mental and emotional distinction between, you know, I'm donating an egg and I'm donating a baby has to be there. So what are the instances in which a donor would be stopped from giving their eggs if they wanted to?
Well, it's important that they're emotionally stable and that their motive is the right altruistic motive. They might be, you know, suffering a mental disease that they're now in a high phase and want to change the world. So we need to really see that they have the right mindset and that they can cope with the procedure.
Marinus, this is a process that South Africans have been engaged in now for 25 years. What are some of the major ethical issues?
I think from an ethical point of view, I think there's religious issues, which obviously is based on person's personal beliefs, and I think that's a separate issue. I think the big thing with egg donation worldwide always was the question of selling eggs, you know, which people were concerned about and are still concerned about. I think in South Africa we have very strict guidelines around that. So there's certain capped limits to what a donor can be compensated for her time and the effort and loss of income if she does that. But that there's limits to that, and so in South Africa I think we're very good in controlling that.
So it's more procedural cost. You're not buying somebody else's eggs. In that sense, is it similar legally, ethically to a man who decides to donate a sperm?
If you read the recommendations of our society, the sperm and the egg recommendation is exactly the same. In terms of the amount of children that you might either come from a sperm or an egg, in terms of compensation, is exactly the same. I think with egg donors, obviously, it's a more difficult procedure. It involves a lot more time, and it involves a lot more medical intervention. So from that point of view, it's different. But in essence, it is basically the same thing.
But ethically and legally, it's the same.
It's the same thing.
Jenny, we spoke about, Marinus mentioned that there's a cap on the number of eggs that a woman is allowed to donate. Can you tell us about that?
A lady can donate eggs to the extent that her eggs are of good quality and obviously that she wants to donate again. But legally, she may not donate to the extent that she conceives more than 5 children.
Okay.
So only 5 children can be conceived of donor eggs. So, for example, a triplet pregnancy will count as 3.
Oh, wow. Okay. Thank you, Marinus. We'll chat to you later. After the break, would you be willing to donate your eggs? We speak to 2 women who did exactly that. Welcome back. You're watching Great Expectations, and we're talking egg donation today. We have 2 fabulous women in studio, Liliosa and Jessica, who have gifted their eggs to other women who are battling to fall pregnant. And with them are Jenny Curry, who helps women donate their eggs safely through her egg donor agency, and clinical psychologist Suzette Heath, who assesses those who want to go through the procedure. So I'm going to welcome you, Jessica, because you're joining us now. Why did you decide to become an egg donor?
Well, I initially found out about it through a friend, and she had a very rewarding experience doing it. And I was comfortable with the idea, and I thought, what a noble thing to do for another person. And I was happy to help to make another woman's dreams come true.
How long have you been donating your eggs?
Well, I started when I was 20, but I'm not donating anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long a period did you do it for?
Well, I'm 22 now, so it's been 2 years, and I limited myself to a number of donations that I felt comfortable with. So I'm happy now.
You actually took a trip to Cape Town to donate an egg. Why are you so passionate about this?
Well, I kind of feel if I was in the same situation, I'd be so grateful if someone was willing to do the same for me. And I know some of these women come from all over the world. So going to Cape Town was the least I could do. And I know this egg is going to a family that really, really wants a child. They'll be doting, loving parents, and I feel like they're very deserving of a child.